Join us for PR Safari, a podcast by Center for Public Relations. PR Safari, your ultimate guide to navigate the complex PR landscape in Africa.
Welcome to Season 2 of PR Safari. This season, we are excited to highlight various skilled communication practitioners who also happen to be Gen Zs. So, on to the show.
Find us at www.cpr.africa.
Hello, my name is Chris Wangalua. Our guest and guide for this episode is Tsika Zolesa, a fourth-year student at Strathmore University. She has a fascination with communication and brings unconventional wisdom that you will definitely find fresh and surprising.
I also have a background in international relations. I have a diploma from Strathmore Institute as well. And I'm very passionate about all things communication. I think in addition to that, what I would add is I'm an artist. Been an artist since I was young. It runs in the family, so I definitely picked it up. And I also read cards. I'm a tarot and oracle card reader, which is a little bit unconventional.
And you say you are all things comms. What does that mean?
When I say I'm all things comms, I think I would generally describe it as the fascination I have had regarding communications has been a long time brewing. If it was to have a very beginning, it would be my background. I always say the moment I learned how to read, the world stopped having peace because I never stopped talking. And now that I could read, I could talk all the more. That also translated into reading. I think I was, and I still am, a very passionate and avid reader. So when I started getting into the whole aspect of society, I'd say, and you know, as you grow up, you start socializing more, you start meeting people outside of your family, outside of your commune. I ended up learning that the things that we say are very, very powerful. And I think it was very subconscious from the things that your mother would tell you, hey, stop doing this. Or, hey, stop, don't say this, don't say this. Shh. And when we go there, we don't say 1, 2, 3. And it would be like, oh, okay. So there's a way to behave. There are things that you should be able to say and not be able to say. And I think the more I started growing up, like I just found random things very fascinating, like instructions. I would sit down and read instructions. And I'm like, wow. So like people don't just make things, they tell you how to use them. There's so much of communication in our day-to-day lives that it was everywhere for me. Even when it came to media, even when it came to books, even when it came to the shows that we would watch, or the certain rating that I think I was pretty young by the time the ratings came about, and it would be like PG-13, and it's like, okay, why? What is it that they're saying that me, an 8-year-old, I don't have the right to listen to? You know, so that curiosity regarding communications, and also the boundaries specifically, you know, when African parents would be like, hey, it's time for you to go, or they'd give you something to do because they wanted to talk, or at least in my family, they would start speaking in the vernacular. So then the children would be absolutely clueless. And I'd be like, there's something here that's more than just the conversation, that's more than just the engagement and interaction. And I wanted to know it. I wanted to know the science behind it. I wanted to understand the psychology behind it. I wanted to understand the level of influence and power that communication has and really get to understand the nitty-gritty of it. So I naturally just followed that passion and ended up studying it in university.
Let me understand, why did you not start with communication as a diploma and started with international relations?
Okay, so I'd say the urge was ever present, and it wasn't necessarily to know how things work, it's to know how people commune, to know how society operates, because communication, both verbal and nonverbal, is an inherent tie when it comes to the fabric of society. So that was something I noticed very early on, and I was like, okay, this is definitely something I want to go into. And I think that's where the decision to follow communication came from. Like, it's something that I was always fascinated in. And then I was like, wait, you can study this in university and like get a degree that will be recognized? Okay, hold on. Like, you know, it really changed the game for me. Studying international relations was very natural for me. It didn't feel like I was picking something over another thing. It felt like I was giving into my interests that would like lend to the bigger picture.
I like the part where you said you can study communication. It's as if it doesn't exist because communication is supposed to be the ideal. Everybody has to communicate, and then somebody's going to school to study communication.
100%. And I also think the thing with communication is people dismiss it. People think that, oh, we are all inherently, everyone can communicate. And it's like, but Y'all struggle when it's time to give speeches. You struggle when it's time to introduce yourselves. You don't know how to have a conversation with somebody from a different culture.
Yeah.
So it's something that is inherently trivialized, but when you are lacking in specific skills and specific capacities to communicate, it absolutely shows and it affects your quality of life and the relationships around you. So I think being able to highlight it as a subject, as a whole art in itself, and learning it really lends some source of credibility and some foundation to this very abstract thing that people think, oh, we can all do that. We can all. And it's like, no, we really can't.
Do you think communication people also struggle with communication at an individual level?
Yes. As big as communication is, there are so many sects and so many spheres to it. There are people who are inherently incredible writers. Like, give them a pen and paper or a laptop and they will create worlds with words. There are people who are so adept at the task of editing and refining and getting concise when it comes to directing people. There are other people who are just great speakers and not great note takers, or, you know, when it comes to putting their words on paper. What I would say is know
There's
your strengths.
voiceover artists.
Yes, you know, there's some people who just give me what to say, tell me what to say, and I'll say it the way it sounds correct. But find your common or your main interest in communications and build on that, and understand that all of the other things that you are not necessarily so good at, build onto that.
Yeah.
So if you are a great speaker, that's incredible. I'm one of the people who say, like, give me one conversation with anyone and I'll get, just if I'm in trouble, just let me have a conversation with whoever is in charge. Like, I will make it, I will make it through. But how do you get yourself into spaces where you can have that conversation? If you are an incredible writer, that's amazing, but not everyone you meet is going to read like a 300-word draft.
Yeah.
What are you going to say to them that will make them want to read your writing? So when you are thinking of adding onto these other skills and other parts of communication that you are not necessarily so good at, think of how they are actually going to contribute to your main passion, and it's going to be a lot easier to, like, you know, get it done. And you don't have to be the best at everything. You just have to be the best at what it is that you like. You don't have to be the best at what everyone else likes.
When I was having this conversation with you in preparation for this recording, one of the things I asked you was, what is that one thing you want to talk to us about? And you said parasocial relationships.
Parasocial relationships are more of a phenomenon in society, and this is where you find a specific person or personality. I tend to refer to them as media personality because we tend to see them and often tend to relate to them over media. We don't meet them in person every so often. So it could be a politician, it could be an athlete, it could be a star of your choice. And the relationship they have with their audience, where their audience feels inherently tied to this person, they know this person, they rate this person, they would give their kidney to this person if they so asked.
Yeah.
However, it's very one-sided. And it's a very interesting phenomenon because a lot of the things that this individual does is very much known to the audience, but this individual doesn't particularly know their audience. The audience, like, think about 700.
They know their audience, only that they have never really, they can't shrink onto one.
Exactly,
and, you know,
exactly. Whereas if you look at how the tables are turned, it's like this massive group of people that is very connected to this one person. And I think what really fascinated me about parasocial relationships and the psychology behind them is how unknown of a phenomenon it is, but how powerful it is in regards to our political alignments and ideologies, in regards to what we believe society should be like, even in regards to where we spend our money. So that is, I think, something that I really found very fascinating. And what I think honed the fascination for me was the dawn and evolution of social media that really blurred the lines, or continued to blur the lines, between this media personality and their audience, because now we have a platform where we have these personalities responding to various individuals, like directly and one-on-one, and you can have immediate updates, like seconds after your superstar posts something, you can be able to access that, or when they say something, you can access it very readily. It continued to blur the lines and have a lot more power and effect on not only our, again, society, politics, and economic status, but also our psychological ideals, our psychological climate as well, has really been influenced by these parasocial relationships.
Because we're speaking to culture, because these very renowned persons are the ones who influence how we behave. We feel we connect to them because they speak to some of the things that we like, we do, and so we are connected to them. They have no idea who we are. The question then becomes, what do we do with this concept as an organization or as the people who follow?
I think it's very important to, first of all, be aware of something, because when you are aware of something, you can notice the level of influence it has over you. And I love that word, influence, because it's very direct when you're dealing within the world of parasocial relationships. If you think about influencers, those are a beautiful encapsulation of what parasocial relationships are. Somebody that you've never met is going to be like, yeah, buy this glass. It's the best glass I've ever used. It's crystal. It sounds amazing. And you're going to go ahead and buy it.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to the audience as well, you are aware of the fact that this is somebody you have a very deep admiration and, affection for. And being aware of that really allows you to know when to draw the line. The reason I would say this is not just in regards to like the economic status of things, because of course I think over-consumerism is a whole task in and of itself, but it's really, really fueled by parasocial relationships. Your favorite artist was seen wearing this jeans or this style of jeans, and now you want to do that. Your favorite artists changed their hair to red, so now you're going to spend money to do that. But I also think it's very powerful in the world of politics. When you think of polarizing characters or polarizing individuals with very controversial political ideologies, people like Donald Trump, people like Andrew Tate, or even Kenyans, people like Amerix, for example, you'll find people who are very committed to their teachings. Like they hang on to every word they say, even when it doesn't make sense. And they tend to prioritize the fact that they respect this person, they admire this person, they love this person over the fabric or the meat of what this person is saying. But in regards to political ideologies from various political figures and stuff, instead of blindly adopting and believing these, very polarizing and controversial things regarding gender, regarding race, regarding sexuality and all of those things, know when it's somebody else's thought and know when it's yours. I feel like as an audience, when you admire somebody, there is this halo effect that comes with it where you want to believe everything they do is amazing, everything they do is for your greater glory, and it always has some source of good in it, even if other people don't necessarily see it. And you'll find yourself blindly defending people who you cannot actually vouch for, people who you've seen 3 times a week over a 40-minute video, and that's who you're saying, no, they know the truth. Learn how to have your own independent thought. Go through your own modes of research. Don't just listen to people, read. And I love social media, and I love videos, and I love all these different ways we can consume information, but I don't think people use it enough.
There's a very interesting thing you've said, be your own person, because today I've been looking at some of the things that are happening, the patterns and the era of disinformation, misinformation, mal. And I'm thinking somebody could literally, even management could literally cook up things and give you as communication person and tell you this is the word. Go ahead and spread it. And you now are misinforming without doing your own independent evaluation of what really is going on.
100%. That's literally how world wars operate. If you think about the art of propaganda, it's just a matter of listening and believing without doing your research and taking what you've been told as gospel truth and having the most extreme reaction from it. But if you have the ability to even if it's, and the thing is, I think people think that you have to do it directly. Like immediately someone tells you oh yeah, the sun is round, you're gonna be like, why? No, you are allowed to react.
You'll probably say yes, you'll probably say no,
and it's okay.
And then you'll think about it.
That's the thing. That's the key word. Just think about it.
I was doing some research on the evolution of press releases, for instance, a simple thing as a press release. And I came to discover that even though Ivy Lee, came up with the idea of the press release, he was 29.
Oh.
Okay. Now, I begin to look at these press releases. I'm following these patterns and how people do it. And of course, people take their own forms sometimes. I'm asking myself, why are we using Ivy Lee's way? Yes, it was 29 years. He was 29, maybe 1905 or thereabout. Why are we still doing the same when things have evolved? And so there's the question, okay, let me think about it. And when I discovered this thing, I began to poke holes into these things. And yes, you can write as you please because there's no formula or there's no standard way, even though there's a small structure to it. There's a very small skeleton that you can have a date there and you can label it press release. But sometimes the things people write under the press release is not even a press release. Doesn't look like a press release. It looks like some statement or I don't know. So
could have been in a memo. Like this is an internal company memo. This was not for us.
Yeah. Exactly. So to me, the thing is what you've just said. Think about it. Ask yourself why. Find more information. Even for your own benefit, you'll build onto it. And so you get out of the trap of the parasocial.
Exactly. But I think that's one thing that I also have noticed within humans in society, because parasocial relationships are also very psychological. And I think the more you study psychology, you tend to see this gorgeous intersection between psychology and communication, where you find that psychology is inherently communicatory in nature and communication is inherently psychological. You tend to find that these feelings of trust and comfort are protective, that it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort to go out and find out why you like what you like, why you don't like what you don't like, why this is the wrong method of thinking and why this is the right one. It's so much easier, it's so much more comforting to say, oh well, I like this person and this is what they believe in, so they might have something, so let me go on to that. But like it also absolves you of blame. Oh, I didn't do it, it's because this person, and then you know that when they said it and me, I was like passive, but like giving me, how was I supposed to know? And you see this so many times. You see this literally even in the Garden of Eden. So it's something that human beings tend to do because it's that fine line between saving energy and escaping accountability. But when you actually realize that it takes effort to know things, to live in the present, and to feel very connected to not only the people around you but the things around you, because it's not just people that communicate, it's things. You tend to understand that, you know what, actually this is something I like. I like feeling more present. I like feeling more aware. I like being able to understand the perception of something, even if it doesn't say it directly. And I think it's also comforting because if you look at the age of social media we're in, and there's this joke that I absolutely love where somebody would be like, you go online and tweet, oh my God, I absolutely love waffles. And somebody will tweet, what about pancakes? And another person will tweet, what if I'm allergic to waffles? And another person will tweet, children in Africa have never had waffles. And it's like, okay, where did all of this come from? You know, all of this context. And that's what I absolutely learned, that we are living in an era where people are void of context. People do not understand that if you wake up today and say, oh my gosh, I absolutely love my husband, I had to make him breakfast, he was so happy, it's like, women are subjugated. And it's like, okay, yes, but like not in this case. There is so much context that you are missing.
Perspective,
Exactly. And that misunderstanding, I cannot stand it, because I always feel like the target of society and the target of relationships is to get to that point of understanding, to get to that point of, I know this person.
Shared meaning.
This person knows what I mean, and this meaning is not going to be misinterpreted in any capacity. But without the intentionality to actually look into something and see it for more than what it is, you're always going to be skating on misunderstandings. For sure.
I really loved this episode. Thank you so much, Zoe.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always very refreshing to have a conversation with somebody who's as passionate about communications.